How do we really, untangle this politics around law enforcement? It's a difficult thing. So aside their own contributing, there's also something that is really empowering them to continue the regime thing, like my colleague is saying, regime police, regime security. So they just act for the regime because the regime is in control. And when the regime fades away, another regime comes in, we see a change again, and then serve them again.
For us, we believe that each and every individual is very important, not alone to talk of the loss of a life. The management of the Sierra Leone police will never tolerate nor accept any killing of an innocent individual. That one, it is very, very clear to say that the Sierra Leone police management will always, as usual, look into the issue, more especially where we have death.
I don't know when the police recruit normally, if they don't give their codes of ethics to their police officers. If you look at the disciplinary code of the police, 2001, disciplinary code of the police, it's very clear. It's so simple. I mean, when you discharge firearm, once you discharge firearm without lawful cause, that is a disciplinary matter. Clearly. And we have been seeing this for the past 10 years. Police officers have been discharging firearms and they are not been brought to the book. So how do we actually go forward?
We have a responsibility to our country. So whilst we talk about police actions equally so, efforts must be made in several quarters to curb the growing spread of lawlessness. Whilst we do believe that police actions went to the extreme, we're also calling on citizens to exercise restraints. But it's important that we need avenues and channels of redress. If people have their complaints, they need spaces where their complaints can be heard. And the police should have the sort of character and posture to be accommodating. So police impartiality, independence is critical. When you go into a matter, why not use what is available? I keep coming back to that lady, and that image is repeating in my mind. It's the way the lady looks, the IPAM lady, just using, verbal alert, shouting, she will run. That lady would be timid enough to run away. So for me, it looks as if it was a soft sport. Because another student, when I looked at the video, another student was there trying to pull her off from their hands. It was a male student, and nobody attempted to touch on the male student. But it was continuously on the female student. All 4, 5, 6, or 7 of them, continuously. So that image, that public image of the police will continue until they make very desperate efforts to change it.
Yes, subscribe. You always dey watch we program them, but you not subscribe yet to the channel. All wetin you get for do, press this red subscribe button, and then you come over here to and press this bell. To the bell option, press this one with all. And done. And no get for cost you anything. When you do this, na sign for show say you dey support we for make we do more. Thank you for your help we for share this program. Yeah, God bless you.
The Sierra Leone police has yet again come under serious criticism for brutality following last week Monday's protest by students at the IPAM campus, which became violent as armed police officers fired tear gas and smoke bombs. A female student named Fatmata Jallo was stripped by police officers and arrested, prompting calls for the sacking of those police officers involved. Over 500 students were supposed to have been graduated this year from IPAM. A partial list of would-be graduates was published by the college administration, which contained about 350 names when over 1,000 students are expected to graduate. The angry students are demanding answers. police stormed the campus, firing tear gas and smoke bombs at students seeking refuge inside the building. The country's Human Rights Commission published its report into the violence, calling for an investigation and the sacking of police officers who found wanting of professional misconduct. Just about 3 days later, precisely Thursday, April 15, the police engaged in a fatal shooting at Hastings Village, leading to the death of one Alpha Cargo following a land dispute. Tonight, we shall look at the conduct of the Sierra Leone police and the way forward. I am Samuel Wise Bangura, and this is AYV on Sunday.
Yes, subscribe. You always dey watch we program them, but you not subscribe yet to the channel. All wetin you get for do, press this red subscribe button, and then you come over here and press this bell. To the bell option, press this one with all. It don't done. It no get for cost you anything. When you do this, na sign for show say you dey support we for make we do more. Thank you for we don help we for share this program. Yeah, God bless you.
All right, good evening and a very warm welcome to AYV on Sunday on Channel 33 on TV and on Radio 101.7 FM. On my panel this evening, I have from the Human Rights Commission, Sierra Leone Commissioner and Vice Chairman, Victor I. Lansana. Good evening and welcome to the show, Victor.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
I have the Deputy Spokesperson for the Sierra Leone Police, Samuel Sao Conte. Good evening and welcome to the show. And it's a pleasure having you here. I'm sure this is your second appearance here.
A very good evening, Samuel. Vias, good evening.
All right, I have with me the Executive Director for Campaign for Good Governance, Marcela Samba. Good evening.
Good evening, Samuel, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for your patience. I have the Executive Director for Legal Link, Rashid Dumbuya. Good evening.
Thanks for having me. I'm grateful.
All right, to you watching or listening, remember you can participate in the discussion through our Facebook page. You can find us at the Africa Young Voices Media Empire Facebook page and can phone in when we open the call line later. And the number to do so is 232-776-22766 plus 232-776-22766. First off, I'm going to start off with you, Marcela. I mean, you took to social media following the incident at IPAM. And what did that bring to mind?
I mean, it brought out a lot. I think we should have had this conversation long before now.
Right.
Because what we're seeing is that the Sierra Leone police is imbibing a culture of violence and repression, which we think, you know, as civil society organizations, we need to put a stop to that, and we need to escalate the conversation and the debate around it. I mean, it's the worrying sign, and I mean, there's two aspects.
Right.
Parts, you know, from excessive use of force, with the public sleeping aspect, puts the whole issue of sexual and gender-based violence online. I think the police have been prosecuting issues around sexual and gender-based violence, so for them to publicly sleep, you know, a young lady at university, potential graduates, we find out very, very disturbing, and we think we want to condemn that in the strongest terms and use this as an opportunity and as a rally point to call for immediate reforms around actions, you know, police conducts, you know, and reviving the very tenets, because these were the tendencies, you know, of the conflict.
Right.
You know, where women were abused, where police action gave rise to a number of issues. Law enforcement, you know, was at its lowest ebb, and these were the issues that gave rise, among others, to the civil conflict. And efforts were being made, a part of the post-conflict reconstruction measures to ensure that the police is brought back on track, introducing the tenets of the force for good, making sure that the police is accountable and subjected to civilian oversight, making sure institutions like the CDIID, the family support unit, others. So the very institutions want to protect the rights of citizens, making sure that the family support units, making sure that issues of violence, domestic violence, sexual and gender-based violence are at the center. We see them publicly beating up a lady and stripping her. She suffered serious bodily harm, and I think I saw her personally, and I think we need to stop this. As a nation, we need to find ways and means to get the police under control, and I think the conversation is very timely, and it is important that we start it now.
Right. And to our technicians, I see a lot of our viewers online are complaining about the volume. I think you should increase the volume, please, because a lot of our online viewers are complaining about the sound. They said it is low. But let me bring you in, Rashid. The issue of police and the way they respond to riots, I mean, that has been questioned for a very long time. So one was expecting or would expect some form of reforms within that particular sector, the security sector. When these two incidents, the recent ones, the one at IPAM and the one at Hastings Village, did they spark any conversation, any dialogue around police accountability?
Yes, thank you very much, YV, for the invitation. I represent the civil society together with my colleague here, and I also serve as executive director for Legal Link, one of the organizations that are trying to hold police accountable in terms of their excesses. We have made a lot of strides. We've interfaced with them on these issues, and it's really painful sometimes when you engage with them and then we see the worst happening. But it's like you said, it's something that it's not new. Let me be frank about this, because I remember when I was also in the Human Rights Commission, we had several discussions and trainings with the police on the use of force.
Right.
And I remember at one time we invited about 30 LUCs. We opened them up to this issue about the UN basic discipline use of force and firearms. So there's a whole document at the international level that clearly showcases how force and firearms, are to be used by law enforcement agencies. And we made it very clear, and we all agreed in that meeting that this is when and where we could use force. So it's not that they don't know, I will argue. And so sometimes you start asking the question why year in, year out, we see this anomaly happening. Is it the case that it's about impunity, or is it the case about lack of knowledge or expertise or training, or is it about the men we recruit, perhaps the message is not passed to them properly, or what is really the cause? Because the other day somebody was even saying in the police that we don't even understand what we self can do. I have a talk with him, I cannot really name the person, a top ranking officer in the police, because I'm sure he was part of that training. So here is the thing, and let me be quick to bring this up, in this conversation. In 2 months from now, and I think the commissioner here will agree on this, Sierra Leone is facing the Universal Periodic Review.
Right.
All right, a whole process where the human rights scorecard of the nation is going to be assessed. I think it's sometime in May or June this year. So it's important that the nation understands this, and at the very least we have some quiet at this moment, because that is key to everything that is going to happen. And they are recording as we are doing it at the moment, and these questions will be posed to our reps who will be representing the country, and definitely when the reports are out, if they cannot answer them, that report will be damning, and we don't know in fact what will be the grading down the line. So the police ought to understand this. So I see a lot in our list at the moment. We have recorded over 52 deaths in just 3 years. Officially, what the state record pronounced. The extrajudicial killings. And you start asking the question, and a lot of them were done by police officers, military officers. All right, few happen, as a result of some gang, and all of that, mob justice. But a lot of them happen in the hands of the police and the military officers. And we see impunity right across, save perhaps this one that happened in Hastings, where I'm seeing the police making some effort to at least investigate. So there are a lot of things we have to ask today, and perhaps I'm happy the officer is here from the police to let us be clear about this. What is happening in our nation? Is this where we want to go? Yes, it has been happening in the past, but are we going to settle that it should continue like this? About 52 deaths in just 3 years.
That is worrisome, that particular figure, 52 deaths in just 3 years for a fragile state like Sierra Leone. Let me bring in the Vice Chairman for the Human Rights Commission, Victor. You came out with a report following the incident at IPAM. And just days after, again, the Hastings shooting, and that led to the death of one Alpha Cabo. First off, when you investigated the IPAM issue, what clearly came out, especially with the way the Sierra police responded to the situation?
Thank you very much, Samuel, for having the Human Rights Commission in this program. You know, the Human Rights Commission is quite worried with what we are seeing. I will take the cue from my brother that this is not the very first time. I mean, such a thing is happening. For the longest time, it has been happening. And that is why we believe we need to continuously call on the police, for the police to be very much professional. And so what happened there, I mean, at IPAM, you asked the question, what readily came to mind? What did we see? You know, it was a clear show of unprofessionalism. I mean, there's no other way to actually address this word. It is clearly a show of unprofessionalism. And we are worried because we have invested so much as a nation, and also international partners, development partners. All of us have invested so much in the police in terms of, I mean, trainings, equipment, and so on and so forth. So you begin to wonder what is happening year in, year out. You have the same results coming in, the same results, same police excessive use of force. So, I mean, what's the reason why? I mean, in my own estimation, why it lingers on, it is because the police normally hide. They hide the perpetrators. They don't come back to the public and say, we have done this A, B, and C. The police actually don't do, I mean, so much to ensure that they curb impunity, to ensure that those who are actually responsible for unprofessionalism are brought to the book. Because if you want to actually see that then the police is a force for good, or any institution, you always have to ensure that there is accountability. You know, the police have to be accountable. The Human Rights Commission, for the longest time, has been bringing out reports year in, year out, making recommendations. But the police do not actually see these recommendations. They, I mean, we present to them, they see, but then at the end of the day, I mean, they look the other way.
No implementation.
So that's the point. That's the problem we have with them. Because once you have those who perpetrate, and they know, because the police, they give out the rifles, the firearms, so they know who owns this, who may have discharged any firearms, so they know exactly the personnel who are responsible for such violence or for perpetrating such misconduct. So what the Human Rights Commission has been calling on, and what we believe clearly is the reason why this whole issue continues to linger on, it is because the police have failed to be accountable to the public. The police have failed to bring to book those who are really, really responsible for those happenings. So we continue to call upon them, and that is why I mean, we have something in store. We have something very, very serious in store that we are going to shock the police with, because we cannot continue with this, my brother. We are coming to 60 or more years, I mean, as a nation. I mean, after the war, this is 19 years now, we are still having the same problem, government in, government out. And one dissatisfaction, one unfortunate situation that we have observed over the years is when these issues happen. I mean, the ordinary Sierra Leonean will go out to politicize it. Oh, SLP police, oh, APC police. It's so unfortunate. I mean, if you politicize such an issue, it tells you that you are giving the police the leeway to hide under a political party or to hide under whatever. But if you call out the individual, call out the police as an institution, and also call out the individuals responsible for perpetrating such violence, that is the only way out.
Right.
But if you actually target to political party, then we are missing the point. We'll never actually move on.
Samuel, I mean, was the police force taken aback by what happened on Monday and Thursday in Freetown and the outskirts of Freetown? Taking into consideration, you've come under the radar for a very long time for acts of what many has described as unprofessionalism, excessive force, and things like that. What first came to mind at the hierarchy of the Sierra Leone police when these incidents occurred?
Yeah, thank you very much, Samuel. For us in the Sierra Leone police, what is wrong is always wrong in our views, in our perceptions, and the management of the Sierra Leone police always have this to say. Any police officer that hasn't got what it takes to maintain integrity has no space in the Sierra Leone police. This I will make it very clear. And also, the issue of professionalism has two dimensions. The ordinary individual may think his or her own way, or perceived or conceived it in his or her own way. But from the angle of security, it's a bit different. What do I mean? I am taking my time not to penetrate more on the IPAM issue. I will elaborate more, to be very realistic, on the Hastings issue, because sub judice, I believe, we have two lawyers here by profession. Any matter that is in court, we have to be careful the way we discuss it. So the issue that I will pick on the IPAM issue has to do with the aspect of professionalism. Yes, for us, we've done several trainings. We have the Sierra Leone Peacekeeping and Law Enforcement Academy, initially known to be PTS, and also we have the Advanced Training Public Order School at SAMU. We always, as usual, practicalize the essence of getting our personnel to the task in terms of delivering what we refer to as professional service to the people. But what I want to point out very strongly is this. For us, we believe that each and every individual is very important, not alone to talk of the loss of a life. The management of the Sierra Leone police will never tolerate nor accept any killing of an innocent individual. That one, it is very, very clear to say that the Sierra Leone police management will always, as usual, look into the issue, more especially where we have death. So for the IPAM issue...
Yes, can I take you back? I know for the Hastings issue, for example, you've issued a statement that was not dispensed officially from the Sierra Leone police. It was an individual that, I mean, well, took the advantage, incentivized some police officers, took them to the scene just to get the land clear. Let me just quickly bring you to IPAM. What did you make of the response that you made, the Sierra Leone police? I'm not talking, I know you said the matter is in court. They were the students were supposed to have appeared Friday but postponed to Monday. But what did you make of the response strategy? I mean, was the response professional in your sense, the way you responded to the situation?
Yeah, of course. Again, some people, when they talk of professionalism, they also tagged it in terms of the mere appearance or the first contacts. It was not an issue of the student versus the Sierra Leone police. It was an administrative issue vis-a-vis the student. Of course, we, the police, we normally go to coil down situation when it comes to social disorder or riotous conduct or disorderliness. So that's what exactly we did. So in that regard, we are saying, no matter the situation, no matter what you feel about your issue, please always respect the enforcers of the law, the implementers of the law, and the law itself. Respect the law. For any excessive use of force, we have what we refer to as polite request, for example. And I believe always our personnel do that, in the sense that, quote unquote, una stop waiting una to do so. Una not come, una not cross that line, the polite request. If the rioters insist, they continue their, maybe I don't want to say their violent movement. If they continue to come, there will use firm order. That's the second step. After the firm order, then the personnel will sense that, oh, this is something else. It is not just an ordinary protest. Then the third step, we look into the physical and emotional movement of the crowd. Many times, Samuel, they abuse, because the problem, people don't know. They sit in their offices. They don't know what is happening in the deep field at the exact situation or the scene of crime. These rioters at times, Samuel, abuse directly. You will feel in your intrinsic nature. That's, for example, why this person you can cause me, Mama? Directly, and at times the confrontation will be so direct that they attempt to not only the riot, but also to grab or to disarm the personnel who is in possession of the weapon.
Okay, so generally these are the indicators that would prompt the response strategy.
Exactly.
Let's talk about IPAM's issue. What assessments were done by perhaps the commanding officer to have made that judgment, to have made that call to trigger canisters of tear gas, smoke bombs, and all of that, leading to stripping a lady and, of course, arresting, things like that? What were the indicators did the commanding officer take into consideration?
Yeah, we have what we call individual responsibility and command responsibility. Each and every police officer will and always should be responsible for his or her own acts. That is very clear. So if his or her discretion fails him and he acted something else, definitely we'll bring him to book. And let me make this clear, Samuel, that we really, it's rather unfortunate the matter is in court. Right. I'm afraid not to say something here that will prejudice the matter. But generally, we condemn any act of violence by any police officer. That is unaccepted. We don't like it, and the management always feels it. And that's why I will say, based on your first question, if we were taken aback. Yes, of course, we believe in the dignity of each and every individual. As long as you have life, we should protect you. Reckless behavior is not accepted in the Sierra Leone police. And for us, myself and Media One, we believe in the honest, realistic, and sincere approach when we are analyzing or discussing these issues.
Right.
These are my brothers and sisters. We believe that frank discussion will make Sierra Leone forge ahead positively. It is not about, denying, defending. I believe that anything that is bad, Samuel, is bad. Okay,
stay with me. Let me bring in Marcella again. Two things, have come out. The vice chairman spoke about the unprofessional conduct of the Sierra Leone police. And the Sierra Leone police rep is talking about having established schools for professional training. And not the vice chairman again spoke about ordinary Sierra Leoneans like politicizing the effort or the moves or the conduct of the Sierra Leone police. But let me take you back to the process of recruitment and perhaps just reference a few things. We've seen successive governments, be it the APC or the SLPP, when notorious thugs are always attributed or associated with those political parties. At the end of the day, we were seeing them being recruited into the police force. So that brings to mind, you have the vice president as the head of the police council. You have the minister of internal affairs as the secretary to that council. So by default, you would want to say the Sierra Leone police is politicized. So whoever is in power, this has nothing to do with politics, the IPAM issue and the Hastings. But though the Hastings, you'd want to say somebody wants to use money and political power to acquire whether the land belongs to him or that's left for the courts. But how do we go about recruiting individuals, especially with the political hierarchy or postings in the police council?
Okay, first and foremost, let me just say that the point Mediator made that we need to have honest and frank, discussions about this. Totally welcome from the Campaign for Good Governance point of view, because if we fail to create the opportunity for dialogue around these issues, it will continue unabated. The question of training has always in recent time been a challenge. The caliber of people that are recruited in the force will no doubt show the kind of output of the force. But one thing we want to probably at this stage mention is the fact or recommend is those who actually carry weapons, the paraphernalia of coercion, those who have guns in their possession, the special unit that carries gun. I think that particular unit has to undergo special recruitment and training. And apart from that special, apart from the individual and ordinary police training, for them to be allocated guns, they need a special level of training to carry the sort of discipline that goes with carrying weapons. So weapons cannot be in the hands of so many people, and I think it's an immediate first step.
Right.
Particularly with the issues at ST, it shows that now we have guns on hire. People can just take SST officers to any scene, civilian-related matters in readiness to cause havoc. And I think this is a worrying trend. And with immediate effects, that's mostly training, moves directly to accountability. With immediate effects, the police must ensure they understand and know how many people are carrying weapons, to what extent they should be able to account for each and every bullet fired as individuals. Because this, we need to make sure that every individual is accountable for their action. And that brings me to another point you made. When we talk about civilian oversight of the police, unfortunately, our law enforcement agencies, whether it's the police, whether it's the judiciary, they have pointed to regime-serving agencies. And it should not be the case. Their first loyalty is to the people of Sierra Leone. Because governments come and go. So if their loyalty is with one government, when the government change, they become powerless. And so if the police, doesn't build a human rights culture to protect the powerless, when they become powerless by being out of power, they're subjected to the same tendencies of the police.
Forgive me, has that not been the practice over the years? You see the police telling you that they are supporting, I've had people here, the police is supporting the government of the day, the police is with the government of the day. Should the police be with the government of the day or go by its constitutional mandate of being with the people? That is why when you see regime change, whether it's APC changed to SLPP, you saw some repositioning of police of personnel, whether it's promotion, whether it's demotion and replacement, things like that. When the APC again took over some 2007, that the same thing. So how then do we ensure that the government first understands the need that the police or the security sector should not be toyed with, because it's a state institution and must serve the states?
Straight to my first point, honest, clear and progressive conversation around this. Because this thing about the rigmarole of, it has been happening last time, it's happening now, nothing, then we continue in this train. And we build a culture of repression in our society. By the time we want to curb it, it will be too late. So the question is, it comes back to the very urgent need to look at our constitution. Our constitution to restore people's mandate. A constitution that can come in tandem with democratic practices and human rights standards. It's very important that the police force, and other security agencies are subjected to civilian oversight. Those tenets within the Constitution that gives them the extraordinary power to use force. How do we put safeguards so that they, because they should be held accountable for their action. For example, the government presently is discussing issues around the death penalty, the removal of the death penalty, and that is being celebrated in many quarters. It's welcome by Campaign for Good Governance.
Right.
But then let's look 10 years down the line. How many killings have happened as a result of court order or court action? Zero. But how many extrajudicial killings have happened, you know, when you look at police action? So the government, in as much as we welcome, you know, issues around removal of the death penalty, the government must pay attention to this. Because the huge amount of killings that are happening is in the hands of the police. The police who are supposed to protect the lives of citizens. And I think any government must be worried about this current situation.
Right. Rashid, you spoke about how pretty soon, Sierra Leone will be assessed on its human rights records and things like that. Going by what has happened, or what is happening in Sierra Leone with the efforts, the moves by the Sierra Leone police in compounding the problems instead of protecting, lives and properties. Where do you think that puts security for ordinary Sierra Leoneans?
Yes, it's a very nice question. And I think I may not necessarily be the right person to judge the police in that respect. But I think, to be fair, there are a great deal of challenges still exist, because we now know that given the number I've told you on record, officially, because we have not even investigated to see whether in fact the numbers are more, especially for the Maada Bio killings. And what was brought out officially was 31, and we are still looking at, hoping that Prison Watch will come out with their record to see in fact whether in fact that is the case or not. But so far, if we have 52, and largely these deaths have occurred in the hands of the law enforcement agencies, then I'm sure that's an indictment, all right, without perhaps looking at other indicators. But let me, you ask Marcella a very important question on how we could deal with this regime police, depolitization of the police down the line. And I think aside their own self-contributing, contributing into the whole mess, the way the police, the structures, the frameworks also have not helped the police. Say, for example, the police council. So I ask the question, why do we need a police council? Headed by, political actors. Why do we need that? All right, and secondly, why do we still want the IG to be appointed by the president? So these are the things. So when we have a frameworks like that, so aside their own contributing fact, it will not help the police to be depoliticized. So I'm sure we could have a conversation around this, how to reform our laws, our frameworks, so that in a way, what is wrong in having the police, the IG recruited, based on a call for application? So everybody applies. There's a whole panel that shortlist and gets to the best, perhaps the best 3, all right? And then we have the best 3 now sent to the president. Since we are in the presidential system of government, perhaps we want to strip the president of its powers, absolutely. But then we will have placed merit against the politics. Let's send the best 3 from our recruitment standard, well advertised, so everybody will now see how we get to this best 3, and then he can choose anyone from among them, and Parliament approves. And then we place also buffer zones around his removal. So when he comes to the throne, first he comes there by merit. It knows that the first choice was not the president, it was the committee who scrutinized him based on his achievements, his papers, and the qualification, and now sent to him. So he has some strength to resist him on the first go. It's more difficult when the president decides on the first choice to resist him. It's more difficult. And then we make sure his removal also is tight. If he wants to remove him, he must make a case to a tribunal, and he's put on a whole, proceedings, and then you have to defend him, and then Parliament comes in to check and see in fact what he's saying is correct and warrant a removal. I'm sure that will embolden the IG. Perhaps when he sends his men to know that, look, I can't take stupid things. When you go and do anything there, I will challenge you because I'm here on merit. So how do we help the IG in the first place? I think it's a difficult job because he can be fired today by the president.
But the police has always maintained that it has operational independence. So yes, you have the police council, of course, headed by politicians.
Yes.
But when it comes to what we do, our daily operations, I mean, they cannot influence us.
No,
we have to do
I
what
agree,
we do.
and it's a legitimate point to make. But that is more apparent than here, because we all know what obtains in our country, and because our institutions are weak. Remember, Obama made a very good statement,
Right.
that Africans don't really need strong leaders, we need strong institutions, because really our problems are weak institutions. And so if we now have frameworks within the Constitution, sad enough, that allows this politicking of the police to fester, then we are nowhere. Okay? The police council, remember, also has powers to even recommend dismissal on the IG. And who sits as head of the police council? The vice president. So how do we really, untangle this politics around law enforcement? It's a difficult thing. So aside their own contributing, there's also something that is really empowering them to continue the regime thing, like my colleague is saying, regime police, regime security. So they just act for the regime because the regime is in control. And when the regime fades away, another regime comes in, we see a change again, and then serve them again. So I don't know how we'll get there, but I'm sure we can start conversing on this and basically give you
I'm tempted to ask you this question before I bring in the vice chairman. I mean, choose not to answer. It's a political question. Owing to the fact that the IPAM issue,
yes,
I mean, students who have tried, who've gone for 3-4 years studying and trying to enjoy one of their human rights, the right to education, took to the campus in protest that their names were not published for graduation. I'm not looking at the obligations or why the university did not, but the college in question, the campus in question, is where we've gotten, the hierarchy coming out to say, we are SLPP. So would the police have responded to the fact that these students, wanted to sabotage a system that is established for the ruling SLPP?
Very tough question. But let me attempt to answer and give a context, because I believe the police lacked the context as they were going to deal with that situation. I'm a lecturer. So I understand exactly what happened in IPAM. It could have also happened in Fuabe College.
Right.
All right, we pull all our effort together to save the day. So first, we went on strike as lecturers for 3 months. So when you come to now deal with a student grumbling on their things, you don't understand that backdrop. It's not the students making. Let's be realistic. We went for 3 months, and then we had to catch up. So there was so much mess, and we are rushing to get things done, and the students also were. So there was no time. And trust me, it was okay for students to express themselves, all right, albeit in peaceful ways, and demand their results to be displayed 2 days to graduation. So when we come to deal with that, we must understand the frustrations and look at the very tight campus. I can understand how the police got to that point to discharge, fire down there. I can understand that in that tight campus. So assuming the police had come and said, okay, hold on, we noticed that you're becoming, righteous.
Right.
Come please, let's hear you out. What is happening here? Okay, where are your reps? Come, let's talk about this. What they needed at that moment, I would bet you, was some independent arbiter that would just listen to them and help them have their results out. That's what they wanted. And if they had gotten it from the police, perhaps that would have saved the day. Just come and just rush and just 20 gas and make, what is that? You didn't even understand the context. Many of them, look at me, that lady, what she was fighting about that day was a right to education. It's critical for our future. That's why she said, let me be killed that day. She was ready to fight her way to understand the context. It's a right to education. What was demanding? My results should be out 2 days to graduation. I'm not saying it. So don't come again and add more insults to it. Assume if they had come in and then helped her and perhaps ask more questions. Wait a minute. I know you are rowdy, but sit down. Let's discuss the issue. What is happening here? And then they face the administration. What is happening? And that result is out. That lady will never forget the police. They'll say, when they came in today, I have graduated. But now, when they came in, she suffered assault. She's now even being charged. That she will never forget that the police in our country is not a force for good.
Right. Let me bring in the vice chairman. I mean, you've been making recommendations. I mean, year in, year out about reforms within the silent police, how they should conduct themselves professionally. And if we're to go by the number Rashid mentioned, 52 killings, majority of which, I mean, the silent police is responsible. The right to life, that is fundamental. Nobody has the right to take that away from you. Where does that put the silent police? Of course, very recently, last Thursday, they violated that right by taking someone's life. I mean, in that fatal shooting in at Hastings Village. What then becomes of these institutions like the silent police that should protect us? I mean, I'm aware we have very good police officers. Besides, I have very good friends in the force. And we talk a lot when issues like this come up, and they just tend to be at the back because they are not happy. But where do you come in now, outside recommendation, to get the silent police to ensure that they abide by these rules? I mean, in protecting the fundamental human rights of citizens, the right to life is key.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me put it in a context. You know, the police is a legal structure.
Right.
Now, if you look at our constitution, Sierra Leone Constitution 1991, specifically Section 5, subsection 2, paragraph B, it tells you that the welfare and security of the people of Sierra Leone lies in the hands of the government. And it goes further to say, and that means the police, the Sierra Leone army, and public officials, they are responsible to protect the lives of our people, of people in this country. So the security of this country internally, for example, actually is the responsibility of the police.
Right.
And you know clearly that the fundamental function of the police is to protect lives and property. So for us, there could be no better human rights work than protecting lives and property. Because the right to life is as fundamental as any other thing. It gives rise to any other rights.
Right.
You can't enjoy the rights to education, any other rights if you don't have life. So it tells you that the police, they have a very crucial role to play in maintaining law and order, in ensuring that the rights and human rights generally is enjoyed. Human rights, across the country, is enjoyed. So what actually, leads to, how does the police actually come across with all of these happenings? It tells you that there's more for them. There's more to professionalism. My brother was talking about, normally the public talks about professionalism in that layman's point of view. But when he has to understand that when I use the word professionalism, I'm being very, very, very serious. I'm being very technical and professional, because in the first place, I'm a lawyer. And also, a practitioner, a human rights practitioner. So when you say, I'll give you an example, professionalism and unprofessionalism.
Right.
I'll go to McKinney. Now, in McKinney, over the generator saga, we saw exactly what the police did. They have been very unprofessional. They took the life of 5 people. You understand? The same McKinney, when ACC wanted to go and investigate the former president, Dr. Ernest Bai Koroma, we saw how the police were extremely professional. Put the two together and tell me that the police could not be professional and unprofessional. So it tells you that they have to go back to the drawing board, look at what is happening, and we've all been seeing here the number of killings. These are not exactly like Marcella said. We are crying for the repeal of the death penalty, but then since 1998 we have not seen any judicial killing. What we have been seeing is mob justice. What we have been seeing is police brutality, police excessive use of force for the longest time. So it tells you that the police, they need to go back to the drawing board, make an assessment of their work, and let them have the human face. I told you their work is primarily about protecting life and property, which is about human rights.
Right.
So they have to ensure that they give human face to everything that they do. Now, if there's any police officer watching this program, I will refer them to the UN Guiding Principles that talks about it's a document that Sierra Leone, of course, we are a party to United Nations. The document talks about how police, law enforcement officials generally should engage the public, in terms of protests, demonstrations, riots, and so on and so forth. The document is very clear when you look at the general provisions. Principle 4, it tells you that under extreme circumstances, compelling circumstances, that the police should use any firearm. But at all times, the approach should be civil. At all times, the approach should be something that's, peace-loving, ensuring that every party understands the issue and they are able to mediate. But, normally what we have seen over the years is the approach of the police. Once they go there, they want to go and arrest. Once they go there, they want to go and disperse people. That is not what community policing actually means. So they have to understand what we call plan. Now, the acronym plan means proportionality, legality, accountability, and necessity. So once you engage as the police officer, you have to understand whether your action is actually proportional. Take the IPAM saga. You talked about sub-judice. I know exactly what you mean by that. But I'm discussing the facts around it. Was the action of the police proportional? Was the action of the police proportional when at Kabbalah over Youth Village, killing one boy? Was the action of the police proportional when IPAM Jala students demonstrated some time ago? Was the action of the police proportional when a military officer, former military officer, was jogging around the beach and then he was asked to halt, he did not halt, and then the trigger was pulled and then he lost his life? Was the action professional about the Ansarul students? So all of these are clear examples that the police have been using disproportionate force in quelling down riots or demonstrations, as the case may be. Legality. You talked about the right to life. It makes provision. If you look at the Constitution of Sierra Leone, which is the one on the biggest norm, the biggest law, the supreme law, Section 16 is very clear. Section 16 says, on no account, you can deprive a man of his life. On no account. The subsection is quite clear on the circumstances. The circumstances where there is a clear show that there is imminent danger to protect the life of another person or property. Or where, for example, a competent court of jurisdiction has already completed an investigation or a trial and it has reached out on the judgment. These are the situations where you actually take life. But I've given you several instances over the years. We have not seen any of these. So the actions of the police, in my estimation, have been really, really illegal. And talk about accountability again. On the plan, when you look at accountability, it tells you that the police should always come back to the public and talk to the public. They have to know that they are serving the public. Number one, they have to understand that when a miscreant police officer misbehaves, they have to set aside that police officer. That is part of accountability, ensuring that the other police officers will not follow suit, will not do the same thing that what other person is doing, somebody else has done, because it's about fighting against impunity. If you don't actually curb impunity, this thing will continue. I've said that even when you started. That was my first statement. Impunity is the hallmark of all of these problems. Then, of course, necessity. Was it necessary? When you went there, you have heard what Abdumbuya was talking about. He actually meant about community policing. Go there, give the human face. What is happening? Sometimes, yes, I agree again when people talk about, you talked about recruitment. Yes, but I can tell you that sometimes those police officers that go to those scenes, they don't go through, they don't suffer for university. They don't go through university. So they don't understand. I'm not saying all of them. I have classmates who did the first degree, for example. Some of them are even lawyers, my colleagues who are lawyers in the police force. We are very, very intelligent police officers. But I can tell you, some of those that actually go to those scenes, those crime scenes or riotous scenes, they actually did not go through any rigorous academic struggle. If otherwise, for example, a student had gone through 4 years academic rigor. He has gone through everything, all the embarrassment, all the pressures, and then 2 days to graduation, he could not see his name. Missing grades. All several issues. Students who was 4 years ago at year 1, could still not see all the grades. Now he's in final year, the 4th year of his education or college life. He could still not know exactly the academic status at year 1, year 2, year 3. So if you had gone through that, you become a police officer. There's an opportunity of that nature. You are going to be there, go to IPAM, for example, try to quell down the situation. you recall that to get a degree is very difficult. You give the human face. You don't just go and start firing tear gas canisters or whatever. So it tells you that indeed recruitment also is a very serious challenge for the police. I agree. I mean, let me land on this. I agree. I mean, the police has, I mean, as an institution, it has plethora of challenges. I mean, in terms of weapon devices. We have recommended over the years, I mean, time and again, even on the McKinney issue, that government has to ensure that they procure riot gears that will assist them when they go, because they themselves are humans. They have their lives. So we, as a commission, it doesn't matter whether you're a police officer or military officer, civilian, your rights is as equal or supreme to the rights of any other person, to the rights of the president, to the honorable, to the minister, everybody. So we have also said, we have seen the police, they are challenged logistically. I mean, even the working conditions, you know, they have to ensure that, I've had friends who have been calling me, I want to resign. Why do you want to resign? Because the working conditions is really terrible. So it's also another challenge. We agree. But the moment you saw all of those things and then you signed up to become a police officer, it means that you have signed up to become professional. And mark you, if you know, I mean, I don't know when the police recruit normally, if they don't give their codes of ethics to their police officers. If you look at the disciplinary code of the police, 2001, disciplinary code of the police, it's very clear. It's so simple. I mean, when you discharge firearm, once you discharge firearm without lawful cause, that is a disciplinary matter. Clearly. And we have been seeing this for the past 10 years. Police officers have been discharging firearms and they have not been brought to the book. So how do we actually go forward? So sometimes when we talk about, it's about the police hierarchy that has been, we have the police committee that is headed by the vice president, a politician. Sometimes it's not actually about that. We have seen clearly that most of the issues, most of the incidents are away from politics. They are away from politics. I've highlighted several, whether it's youth farm in Konadugu, whether it was the military officer who was shot, the students riot at Jala, or the Anzarul incident. All of these, they are different from politics.
Let me ask you this question, the issue of accountability.
Yes.
All these, officers or personnel who have guns or weapons in their possession, I'm sure the force has a tracking mechanism to know whether Samuel has this particular weapon, and if I pull a trigger, the bullet can even tell whether that bullet is from Samuel. How then do we ensure that the Sierra police holds accountable those officers who become extremely excited or happy pulling triggers and taking lives?
You know, it's a very important question. It also hinges around what I was talking about, impunity. The police in the first place, they have to understand that they are serving the public. It is the first port of call. I mean, the public and the police are with government, is with the police. The police are everywhere. There are traffic agents, law enforcement. When things happen around, they are always around. So there is no way we could actually do without the police. So they themselves internally have to agree that they are serving the public, and so they have to be accountable to the public. And if they are not accountable to the public, it tells you that the country, I mean, people will not enjoy different rights that we all crave for. And so, at institutional level, as the Human Rights Commission, for example, what we have been doing is to, first of all, investigate all of these issues and document them, because it is part of our job, it is part of our mandate and function to ensure that we monitor and document police excessive use of force. For us, we, in fact, are now planning to ensure that we have an inquiry into the excessive use of force by the police. Probably that will get them to their toes to understand that, I mean, the people are really tired. For Samuel, I mean, for how long? For how long? 19 years since the end of the war, we have been training the police, the Human Rights Commission, even, I mean, we have done several trainings for the police, for them to understand that they serve the public, for them to understand that human rights sit at the apex of police operations. So it's not just everything, I mean, the preconceived mind that they have, once you go there, go and disperse. Once you go there, go and rest. Fire, tear gas. So those who are trigger happy, those who are so reckless in their operations, they merely just pull the trigger, even sometimes even without knowing. Because they are. So what the police needs to do as an institution is to ensure they set aside those people, those officers who are really, really reckless. I mean, there is no other way I could actually put it. Some of them are really, really reckless. Those who engage. I don't believe, for example, that it was President Anes Baikoma who told one police officer that when going to the riots at the youth village at Konadugu or Kabbalah, when you go there, go and kill. I don't believe so. He didn't say that. He didn't tell anybody that. He didn't say also when you are going to Jalad there, go and pull the trigger, go and kill one student so that they will stop the riot. No, it's not President Maada Bio that we have now that told the police officer at Hastings that when you go there, go and pull the trigger. No. So it tells you the internal mechanics within the police are failing. They are failing. It's not so much about
systemic issues.
Yes, it is. There are systemic issues. I mean, perennial for the longest time. It's about impunity. Get these guys who actually they identify. I mean, you have said it. You know what to give to this man. You know the rifle. You know the number. You know when he clocks out, when he clocks in, when he goes out on the mission. You can easily trace them. So what you have to do as a hierarchy is to ensure you investigate and ensure that that person is named and shamed and then taken out of the police. Because these are the bad eggs that, I mean, police is a credible institution. So if you continue to allow the bad eggs there, we'll always come after you.
Just quickly before coming over to the police second spokesman, how then do we ensure that we're able to get the police to always come out with investigations? Because it's like a monumental thing when the police, I mean, tells you that we are investigating, that's the end of the matter. So what happens, what does not happen, you do not get to know anything again. The matter ends there. The matter is under investigation and it ends there. No communication to the public as to who did it, what the police has done in terms of punitive measure and things like that.
You know, like I told you, that is where the police actually gets everything wrong. I told you about plan. The E is about accountability. And there must be, Mr. Dumuya, for example, is a lawyer. We have the General Legal Council that regulates lawyers generally. So if you engage unprofessionally with your clients, the General Legal Council will investigate you. We have seen how lawyers have been stripped of their licenses recently. I mean, they could strip you off whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, a year, 2 years, as the case may be. So that gives a signal to other lawyers to say, oh, you have to engage professionally. So that is what the police, that internal regulation is what they have to really, really work on. Honestly, the president, for example, or the vice president who's the head of the police council, maybe somewhere in Poloko, whilst the police, listen, on Monday, whilst the president was addressing the police hierarchy at a retreat, we had miscreants. The president was saying, we know exactly that your job is very difficult, but to call on you to be very professional. That was a very serious statement from the president. Be professional. But whilst he was addressing them, they were clapping. There were few of them, some miscreants around IPAM, misbehaving. Arrested in a manner, I could use 5, 7 police officers. You know, a girl child. Come on, man. I mean, these are cowards. These are serious cowards. I can tell you for free. So, I mean.
All right, let me bring in Samuel. I mean, you've listened. There are challenges confronting the force, but amidst those challenges, there are spaces, there are rooms for you to act professionally. And you failed, even systemically, you failed according to submissions from the speakers here.
Of course, I can understand that Victor Lansana hardly hides or controls his grievance when it comes to talking about the Sierra Leone police. As he explains or continues to explain, the issue will aggravate to a certain level, wherein certain words that are unfit to come out, he will unleash them. I can understand. For us, the mindset training, we have what we refer to as psychological control. That is what I'm applying here. Let me just clarify 3 areas. Marcella was talking of the personnel who are carrying weapons. Of course, each and every weapon or rifle is being recorded. Another point I want to clarify is the statistics in terms of 3 years, the number of killing, and they tagged it that majority, that's the word, majority of those killings are done by, it's not too nice to say, if that's true, is this the right platform to say that? Because the mere fact you say certain things, there are certain people there who are listening, they have cogent respect for you guys, and you say these things here. As you started initially, frank discussion, open discussion, fine. But
is that not what is happening now? Or are
exactly,
you saying the figures are not correct?
If so, Samuel, if so, I'm asking, though rhetorical one, is this the right platform to say it?
We're having a frank conversation.
Okay. Thirdly, the way Rashid Doumbia puts it when he was talking of the IPAM saga, as if when the police, it was premeditated that going to unleash tear gas canisters, no, that was not so. The police arrived there several minutes, if more than 30 minutes to 45 or 47 minutes, according to our records. Because, as I told you initially, we have stages. But I don't know, Victor Lansana, the issue of these international standards when it comes to regulating what police should do, are they taking into consideration also what the rioters should do, what their code, what their attitude should be? But based on what you've said, as if everything is based on what the police should do, what the police should do. If that is the case, I'm also giving a very big question mark or negative 0 to that international instrument, because they should also, give benchmarks, guidelines, strategies as to how those people should behave. Because if that's the case, we'll continue to see lawlessness, violence to a certain level in which, and our responsibility, as you rightly said, is to maintain law and order. What we are saying from the Sierra Leone police, we can never, I repeat, tolerate or accept bad policing. Bad policing is always bad, and we are going to condone that one. And the issue of what the people should know, that the police, we are not disciplining our people, we are hiding them, that is not true. That's why I believe the top management of the Sierra Leone police, they are watching this program, and the CDID, the Complaint Discipline and Internal Investigations Department, we have record statistics as to how many officers we've dismissed, as to how many officers we've reduced their ranks because of their bad attitude, and also...
But are they out to the public? Is the public aware of those decisions? Can you link those decisions to specific incidents across the country?
That's my initial statement. And it's true that it's high time we started letting the public know that these are the measures, these are what we've done. So there's a point there, and we'll get back to our bosses, let them try to let the public know that police institution does not only sit by and see reckless policing without doing anything. No, that is not true. And what I want to hammer home here is this. The issue of frank discussion is very, very important. But let us don't allow our emotions to gravitate to a certain level in which you yourself will say, had I known, I should not have said that statement or made that statement. Yes, what the ordinary, I'm not referring to you, Lord, what the ordinary individual sees as riots and how the police should conduct themselves when it comes to riotous situation. We have two strategies. We have what we call the dispersing method and the containment method. If we see that this particular situation, if, for example, the IPAM saga, if we say we're going to contain them, they will continue just to damage the building, the infrastructure, glasses, the chairs, the furniture. They always have that tendency because, as you've rightly said, they were about to convocate. No sooner that I mean, emotional or that psychological temperament reaches a level, then they can act to.
Has there been any situation or incident in recent times that the Sierra Leone police, I mean, as a force, you've used the containment measure?
Of course, severally. And for that IPAM, we believe that if we had used the containment, maybe the human rights activist or the civil society organization would have said, you've again done more unprofessional acts. So what we decided was to disperse the crowd. And in dispersing or whatever operations that is police-led, we must arrest. And we did our arrest, and the point that people do not understand, when you are in your office and the confrontation is at its real stage, trust me, if you had been there, you would have said, so now student police they suffer psychological issues. The problem I want to hammer home, let us try to educate, sensitize, and conscientize the minds of the rioters that in as much as our brothers are telling me that, yes, indeed, professionalism, yes, we have our rules of engagement, and he spoke of plan. And I will add there the E, the PLANE, the proportionality, the legality, the accountability, the necessity, and the ethical aspect of it. We know our police officers, we taught them, they know, but the real issue at the scene of the incident, my brother, I am not encouraging or supporting bad policing, but it would have been good for you guys to witness any riot, and you will say, Salon Youth Monday. This one, no respect. I always say this, a very peaceful protest. Example, the IPAM students. Hands up or hands on their chest. We know the cause, we know the stone, we know the broke chair, we know the broke glass. All what we are saying, we are protesting very respectfully, professionally, and peacefully. Let me see any police officer that will go and fire and tear gas there. It is not possible. But their action, their attitude, their behavior is just too bad. And that's the point I want you guys to understand, that it is not the end point, it's the initial point. So in as much as I will conclude by saying, we don't allow or tolerate or accept bad policing. Professionalism is our hallmarks. We want to maintain it. But please, the international instruments, we also go with the UDHR. We respect the rule of law. We respect the dignity of each and every individual. But violence is in the mindset of most of our youth.
Right. As you said that, I know you want to respond. Yeah, just quickly. Yes, I'll come over to you quickly.
I mean,
yes.
This is we are talking to the public, you know. So we have to be very much selective in the words that we use or the diction. My brother, you are serving the police. I'm serving the Human Rights Commission. I have an obligation. I have a duty. And so I'm just calling things by their right names. There is no way I could actually mince my words. So I will admonish you that let's speak to the issues, please. You are a very intelligent guy. I mean, I know you. So please, let's just stick to the issues. Right. Yeah? Thank you very much, Samuel.
All right. Marcel, I know you.
I'm saying my microphone has a problem. I don't know if the microphone
I
is sorted
hope
now.
The technician has... Yes.
You know, we need to...
As you go into that, let me ask you this question, Marcella. The police spokesman rightly put it that you definitely have young people, you have youth who are lawless. The president, when he was elected, said he was going to wage wars, and he waged 3 wars in discipline, lawlessness, and these are critical issues if we are to move Sierra Leone forward. And we definitely know the attitude and the way some of our colleagues, brothers, sisters do behave when it comes to issues like that. Should we also take that into consideration when we are looking at the way the Sierra Leone police, responds to incidents of riotous conduct and things like that?
You know, the police has a posture, a very negative posture for demonstration and protest. And it's as if nobody should protest to demonstrate in this country. Look at even the permission received for protest and demonstration. Most of the protests and demonstration, as long as it's anti against any issue. In support, yes, but if it's anti, no. And the real issue is that protests can be spontaneous.
Right.
It's not always that it's even organized, because people agitate. We really believe that, yes, and agree that there's violence in the society. There's disorderly young people.
Right.
A lot of disorderly young people. But the entry point of the police, I saw him doing a simulation exercise as to how people can protest peacefully. How many times have you reached out to the community to say that we can allow or tolerate or support peaceful protests done in this manner? Educate them as to why they should not break down buildings. Because this is what we do. You don't burn the only community hospital that's available in your community. It doesn't make sense. So violence in that respect is not tolerated. So how many times have they reached out? It's not only about using, you know, lethal weapons, shooting people. But how many times have they reached out to educate the community? And that's what community policing is all about. So there are lots of work the police need to do, as opposed, you know, to having that posture against protest and demonstration. It's a very negative posture. And protest and demonstration, they must understand, is an integral part of democracy, because people will definitely find avenue to air out their frustration. So that's one. The second point is about this repeated, I think we've said it a number of times in this program, this repeated impunity emboldening the police officers.
Right.
And I think why they were very, very much swift to respond with a public statement on the issue of the Hastings, you know, calamity. Up till now, the lady student is suffering, and we've not heard from the police. And Campaign for Good Governance is totally against that form of accountability. While we believe that the students have to answer to their action, we totally also believe that those who actually perpetrated direct violence on her should equally answer to for their action. And so we've not heard from them. And this is an opportunity. There is the Deputy Inspector General of Police, when we were talking about the power of representation and we wanted women at the highest scale of authority, it's for people to resonate with their kind. This lady was beaten mercilessly, and now they'll be appearing in court tomorrow. But what about the police officers? They too must be held accountable. And I think when we have that sort of balance, when he's talking about the sort of trust people have in the police force, because when the police will start seeing the police as an entity that obstructs peace, then we cannot build that mutual respect. Whenever I talk about policing in Sierra Leone, I also sit back and look at a number of issues from, you know, the governance point of view. There's been a systematic dismantling of structures. And when we talk about politics, it's not only about direct interference also. You know, sometimes I do sympathize with the police. Minus their high-handedness and their use of lethal weapons, I find them working in very difficult circumstances, particularly so that I interface with elections a lot. You find out that you'll have politicians moving around with their, you know, close protection, and then the police officer who would be assigned to the polling station, if any fracas, you know, break out in that station, you find out that those who are the close protection are the first to take charge of it, as opposed to those who are assigned in the station. So they're working under very extraneous circumstances. And I think the government must invest. I think the Deputy from Human Rights Commission has mentioned that, and I do hope the Human Rights Commission will take that on board as very seriously, that we've said that this conversation, we're going to deepen it so that we see real outcomes. There needs to be investment in non-lethal methods. When we investigated the issue in McKinney, we found out that the police mentioned that there were no alternatives to what they could use. And this is a very serious issue. Whether, I mean, that's what was reported. This is a very serious issue. And so, if that is the case, it's a very big concern. So, it's about impunity, It's about how they use non-lethal methods. It's about working towards curbing the growing spate of lawlessness in the country as well. Because we are the avenue for redress. If you dismantle the students' union, you interfere with the students' union, you politicize it, and this, I want to say citizens, and the students they have a genuine case to make, and there are no avenues to make those cases. They took to alternatives.
What gives the police that negative posture, especially to young people, to people who feel they have the right to register their grievance by protesting and taking up industrial actions? For example, would you attribute it to the fact that this has been a long-standing conversation? You have the Public Order Act, the 1965 Public Order Act, that dictates you notify the selling police when you want to, so that, I mean, security advice or security personnel could be provided. But the police is interpreting that as, we need to give you permission to undertake, to protest. Does that in itself look at the selling police as being hostile or trying to stifle or control that space that citizens have to register their grievances?
It's an institutional culture that they have imbibed over time. There was a thorny issue, for example, in neighboring Liberia, and citizens were protesting against the government with regards to their livelihood. I mean, pointing to their basic living conditions. And we saw where police officers were, dishing out water and, policing the protest. Unfortunately, the posture here is different.
Right.
So it's an institutional culture. They're totally resistant. I don't know why, especially, and unfortunately, that in Sierra Leone, most of the activities, most of the issues, and most of the incidents, people will find way to skew and align it, with political dealings.
Right.
Direct partisan dealings. Because all of the issues we're discussing is political and it's made through choices. But they will directly link it to partisan dealings. And I don't know whether it's because of the partisan posture that the police have decided to take the middle ground to say no protest, no demonstration. But that's not good.
Right.
Because in a democratic society, when you suppress, citizens' views, when you suppress, citizens' intention, it's very difficult. People need to speak out. They need to air out their grievances. And because of the manner in which the IPAM incident, the response to the IPAM incident, you find out that the primary issue, which is the maladministration at IPAM, has been swept under the carpet. That attention, this would have been an opportunity to elevate the discussion around the current situation at IPAM. But that conversation is totally missing in all of this, because every other attention is now paid to police brutality.
Right. All right. That's critical and that's crucial indeed, Marcella, I must confess. Rashid, how do we sanitize the selling police? I'm asking this. There was a time when I actually gave a whole edition of AYV on Sunday advocating for investment, for more, budgetary allocation to the selling police, especially the family support unit. When a report by Center for Accountability and the Rule of Law came out saying, the entire unit, family support unit, is getting something about 4 million per year for operational things. Every quarter, 1 million, something like that. And we had that conversation, and it's when budgetary discussions were ongoing, the police was asked, what was needed, the rice or budgetary, and they went in for rice. So how then do we sanitize the selling police?
Very nice question. But before I answer that, I feel a little bit jittery, I must confess.
In what sense?
When I see police officer here kind of interrogating the human rights commissioner over his frankness in a public forum. Right. It's not something we laugh at. These are the nuances and red kicks that underpins the security forces in our nation. And the police officer told you, also told me I should not be discussing these kind of things in such a forum. All right? So it mimics exactly the situation that we are in. See now, these are experts in their field. We are civil rights activists. We are accountable to the people. The Human Rights Commissioner has a mandate. And right in the public space, we are seeing officers trying to tell him not to be saying certain things. Yeah. That itself tells exactly how it's happening in our society. And it should not be the case. This is an open forum. We are talking about police brutality. If I bring statistics here, if you don't like them, you can bring your facts and let's argue and let's put them together. Okay? But that said, also to correct perhaps also something that I noticed that is a misnomer from his presentation is, let's be clear, under human rights law, the citizens are the right holders. The state is the duty bearer. So the obligation to respect, protect, fulfill, and promote rights hangs on the state. It's not the people. And that framework is trying to, the international framework on the use of force, it captures all of these things. But it knows very well that there's obligations on the state. So it is putting you to understand that when you go out as a law enforcement agency, in fact, it says there, even where the riot is violent. Because it's putting the defense now, sometimes we're not there, it's violent. Say, even where it gets violent, the force must used by them must be proportional, must be reasonable, must be justifiable, and must be necessary in a democratic society. The high standard.
As you talk about necessity, no, I mean, with no intention to cut you short, you still have your time. As I'm just curious and don't want to lose this thought. As you talk about necessity, what's the force the police is using to respond to these issues? Live bullets. I mean, there are other forms to respond. And these are issues that must be addressed. They must be looked into if we are to sanitize the force. I mean, there are rubber bullets that you could use to disperse a crowd, but using live rounds to that's something.
So that talks about reasonableness. That's talking about reasonableness.
No, we're talking.
I'm still having the podium, please, Mr. Officer. It's talking about reasonableness. So you see, the test of reasonability was the force reasonable in circumstances. Was it proportional? All right. So nobody is condoning here violence by use. And what happened that day? The few students who were throwing stones on their building because they were aggrieved was wrong, and we condemn it. But when you intervene as a law enforcement agency, you have to understand the rules of engagement. In fact, look at the circumstances. Look at the environment. It's a small building, the acreage, very small, and it's just a tall building up there. And we're talking about over thousands of people enveloped in that tight place, and you're thinking of using tear gas there. And we don't even want to talk about the more people who are injured. Nobody's talking about them. The stampede, many people were injured. In fact, they're not even talking about them. They don't even want to care what happened there. Collateral damage. So let me also make this thing very clear. The principle of command responsibility is about command responsibility. And that is where perhaps I will definitely end perhaps in my discussion. Command responsibility is something the police has to watch. And it could be a whole hope for the ICC to come in. And it's a dangerous principle because it's a saying that where the leadership, so it's command, it's at the top. So it's coming for the top. The principle is coming for the top. Where they are cavalier and they are quiescent on they are acting subordinates when they ought to have known or they have taken steps and they failed, then command responsibility. So they will be roped for the atrocities and actions of the subordinates. It's a dangerous principle.
Right.
And now that we are getting, and let's be watchful about this. The ICC is currently taking stock on Sierra Leone. Maybe I have to make this very clear. There are many of the killings that are happening now, especially one at Panamba Road. I have a lot of people working there as interns. They are consciously telling us from these things that they are taking stock on what's happening. And the command responsibility principle is usually used to say, okay, what did you do when you now realized that something has happened. So that is the accountability Commissioner was talking about. All right? What step did they take to hold them to account? See what's happening now in the US? The foolish officer thought he was okay when he had a stupid regime. He knelt down on George Floyd for 9 minutes and killed him in cold blood. And nothing was done. But down the line, the regime changed. And today, that officer is publicly under inquiry. And his colleagues are coming to testify publicly. And they're telling him that what he did was wrong. And now he's even begging. And he knows what will happen with him because he's going to jail. So this is the thing, accountability. Now, when people see these things openly done, now look at what's happening again. So let me know that they're not even accountable. It's a facade. They are rushing now to deal with their primary issue. They've even charged to court. But this one, on the Hastings, they say they are investigating. Wait till Monday and see if they will show us the same speed that they show in prosecuting.
I'm told by a source that, the
point.
officers who were involved are in incarceration. Would you want to confirm that?
Yeah, let me just make
Oh, go ahead. Confirm that.
sober clarification indeed.
Yes.
Yes, you are right that we've put them under suspension. As I do speak, they are in detention.
Yes.
And we wasted no time to dish out a very fine public press release.
Yes.
Also, we are investigating them on two prone approaches, the
Yes.
administrative and the criminal.
Okay.
And
We want to
trust me,
see charges as fast as we
Yeah,
have seen
first-
on the primary issue. That's the point.
the posture, I want to, just,
But it was so for the IPAM guys.
and finally, so, because, sorry, Victor, because maybe the way you perceive the way I spoke, yes, it's not that Victor is my man. It's
Okay.
sorry about it. I mean, it's not that.
It's no form of intimidation.
Exactly.
All right. Let me just quickly bring in our viewers online. I have to run through a few messages. Ibrahim Kroma is saying police brutality has to stop. We need to hold police, to account. Police brutality in Africa needs to be addressed by all African leaders. The situation is getting out of hand. Makumba Labon. I don't know where that message, the name alone is telling us. Mustafa Cole is saying, where there is no vision, the people perish. Okay. We are still... Okay, I would have to be skipping some messages, please, just so we're able to get clear things. Bakar is saying, police, like everywhere in the world, no accountability. Even the so-claimed human rights founders are seriously brutalized. Okay. They will soon compare to the West since it's negative. Bahadi is saying, police brutality. Okay, I've gone through that one. Ronald Georgestone is saying, it is now new of police brutality in Sierra Leone and around the globe. The only point is that Sierra Leone police are not accountable to the law that they are supposed to uphold. However, when they are politicized, it's another matter, as both governments have used the police as a political tool rather than a force for good. Let's hope that those found wanting are brought to book. Samba Mansari is saying the police of Sierra Leone are not serving the country now. They are serving Papa government. We need to put stop to this before the worst happen. Kebi Konto is saying police brutality all the time in our country and it's getting worse day by day. Stop the senseless killing in Sierra Leone. Yebu Kamara is saying poor man lost his life for land that he will never take in his 6 feet. Sad life. Mustafa Cole is saying Bakar is asking, how do you call it? It's police brutality or police killing? Ronald, let's hope that those employed in the police force who carry weapons know the rules of engagement when they face members of the public in civil disobedience. I hope that they meet the standards when recruited. Joseph Bangura is saying the police officer who did the killing is supposed to be handed over to the law, as how the guy who killed George was handed over to the law. Ismondo Ismondo is saying police brutality is the excessive and unwarranted use of force by law enforcement. It is an extreme form of police misconduct or violence, and it's a civil rights violation. It also refers to a situation where officers exercise undue or excessive force against a person. My brother, what happened in Hastings has nothing to do with politics. Please have empathy for the bereaved family. Ibrahim Kuruma is saying, violence at any form is unfortunate and unacceptable situation, and also police shooting is unacceptable, and we need thorough investigations into the matter. Amara Alpha is saying, I hope the officers involved in the various incidents are being relieved of their duties pending the outcome of the investigations. Ronald is asking, riot for land, you will lost your life for vanity. It might be right to bring in the Inspector General instead of the mouthpiece. Interesting. Lamin Denke is saying, by the time young people know what they are into, Sierra Leone, okay, that is not too clear. I'm going to take at most 5 more messages. We have so many messages here. Good evening, my able brother Samuel Weisbangura. Please tell Sayo to elaborate towards the issue of the IPAM saga, as it is the first issue that you put before him. Abdul Keru is saying, Joseph Bangura is saying the OSD police officer now doesn't know their rules of engagement, so Sierra Leoneans have to be careful with the police. By the looks of things in our eyes, you are not saying the truth. One can clearly figure it out of you, sir. Hatim J. Amadou Conte saying, is this a policeman? If yes, why the Sierra Leone government? Interesting. I'm going to skip that, I'm afraid, please. What are you talking about, Mr. ASP? How did those innocent students offend the police? Alhaji A. Kurma. Mr. Police Officer, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. So tell us if the police officers are professional. Ambassador Mike Joseph Kano is saying, the police are doing a difficult job. Yes, they are not well trained. Yes, they recruit every Jack and Jill in the police force. Yes, they are not professional. But ironically, they tend to perform extremely in other countries on peacekeeping. As citizens, we have as well become more lawless. The Civil Rights Activists and Civil Education Commission, or you want to say Human Rights Commission, also need to engage in massive sensitization of our people. We need not take the laws into our hands. My wish is for the police to perform a litmus test so that we all can see firsthand the repercussions. Let the police don't intervene in, say, a riot, and let's see whether the rioters will actually comport themselves. That's from Saidu Soiree. Brother Samuel, please tell the media person for the police that we as Sierra Leoneans are not happy with their conduct, and please, if we ever see such a thing on the citizens again, we will come out as taxpayers and as by law and the Constitution with million-man peaceful protest until the IGP resigned. Mohammed Lamin Dumbuya. Media 2, you are challenged and economical with the truth. There is no way a police officer being paid by the very citizen you are arbitrary killing with impunity. Mind you, you have a constitutional mandate to protect lives and properties. Mohammed Sharif Tarawali. I said initially I was going to take at most 5 more, but the messages are so many and we want to get so many, intake. it's so tough to actually go through most of the messages. But let's see. Fremont, no, this is political. We're not taking that. Please ask the policeman if they have rubber bullets. Ali Yuba is saying, Dauda Tawali is saying, Samuel, police brutality should stop, full stop. Alfred Litterbangra is saying the police should be smart enough to handle situation. And Samara is saying, always talking about police brutality, but what about the rioters? In my own opinion, the only one big problem we have in Sierra Leone is the economy. If the dollar rate is at least... okay. The last message I'll take. Brother Samuel, I'm just from the motherland. Sierra Leone is uncontrollable. The country is lawless and uncontrollable. Samuel Fenty is saying. Those are the messages time would permit us to go through. I'm afraid, and I do apologize for not going through all of your messages, but thanks for your contribution. Let me start off with Marcella, your response to the messages.
Of course, citizens have loads of questions to ask the police about.
Right.
And so I think it's but important that it's so uneasy for me, because all the steps that have been taken to institute patterns of good governance, they have all been drastically crumbling. What's happening to the police partnership boards? What's happening to the strategy of police, community policing? So it is within the structures that they build confidence at the community level. You know, the interactions with the citizens and the police. So the questions still remain unanswered, and I think they need to step up on their responsibilities. But if they want to be regime protectionist entities, then they'll be continually be facing these problems. We have a responsibility to our country. So whilst we talk about police actions, equally so, efforts must be made in several quarters to curb the growing spread of lawlessness. Whilst we do believe that police actions went to the extreme, we're also calling on citizens to exercise restraints. But it's important that we need avenues and channels of redress. If people have their complaints, they need spaces where their complaints can be heard. And the police should have the sort of character and posture to be accommodating. So police impartiality, independence is critical. When you go into a matter, why not use what is available? I keep coming back to that lady, and that image is repeating in my mind. The way the lady looks, the IPAM lady, just using, you know, verbal alert, shouting, she will run. That lady would be timid enough to run away. So for me, it looks as if it was a soft spot, because another student, when I looked at the video, another student was there trying to pull her off from their hands. It was a male student, and nobody attempted to touch on the male student, but it was continuously on the female student. All 4, 5, 6, or 7 of them, continuously. So that image, that public image of the police will continue until they make very desperate efforts to change it. Because you have to build citizens' trust for them to be able to respect the force. Unfortunately, if citizens do not trust the police, there will be no respect.
Rashid?
Yes, so let me move away from the police, I think, and do justice. To also call on us, civil society organizations. Because also, I want to believe we are also failing.
Right.
All right? Because if the police fail to ensure accountability, we can ensure accountability for them. But when the question is, how many CSOs have filed public interest litigations? How many? That's where my country is failing. So we have exhausted advocacy. In my view, we have. And they will not listen. It will not change. So it's time for us to gravitate to making sure, like for example, now there's private criminal summons options. We can bring private criminal summons against those officers. Let them delay charging them. We have brought private criminal summons in courts. So as they are preparing, we are before them. What is also wrong for us to file even civil proceedings, all right, on all the things that they went through. That lady currently, all what she suffered under tort law, nothing stops us as civil society activists to do that. And test the court to see how the court can come in and ensure accountability on the police. You might commission public inquiry. I just heard from the commissioner saying that. It's a good step. So when they don't do accountability, we will do it for them. Hold a public inquiry, bring out the issues, and make recommendations, expose them, send the reports worldwide. And even there was one time when they did that, and they recommended that international support be seized on the police. I met the echo there when I was a commissioner. The commission did that. They recommended that the police never be funded by international donors. We can now ensure accountability. But if you fail, we do one. So let all of us come on board. The IPCB, where are they? I'm not even hearing about them. And that's the civilian overhead mechanism that was created to checkmate these excesses by senior officers in the police force. When last did they initiate an investigation? And yet we have had so many killings. So we are failing too. Let's be realistic. The police is failing and we are failing too. If they fail to ensure accountability, we should push them. In South Africa, it's happening there all the time. Advocates, they take actions to court, public litigation. The commission also has powers. when they deny their directives, they can come to the Court of Appeal and even the Supreme Court, all right, and take action. They can even be amicus curiae in many proceedings. They are working on their act now to have them have suo powers to come with action on themselves, for themselves. So these are the ways, because they will not change. So we have to change our strategy to make sure we force accountability. And when they know that if they do anything, CSOs will partner to file papers, that I'm sure will be a checkmate on the excesses we are seeing.
Right. Victor.
Yes. Texter made mention of say the poor man lost his life for a land that he could not take. He could not take with him. Beyond. You know, that's a very good beginning to discuss self-preservation, the issue of self-preservation. What do that mean actually? What do we mean by self-preservation? Citizens should understand that they have a duty unto themselves. They have a duty to protect themselves in the first place. We have seen how the police have been, handling the situation. We know it's not the best of way. And so you have to understand that you always try as best as possible to stay away from those things. I feel sorry for this guy who has lost his life at Hastings. But for those of us who escaped, those of us who are still alive, escape those situations. That's the best thing you could do for yourself. Because just like a man driving a car, you as a pedestrian or as a passerby, you have to understand that you have a duty unto yourself to ensure that don't rely on the driver, that the driver will take care. Mm-hmm. So you have to rely on yourself in the first place. That is the first thing you do. To ensure that you stay away from that vehicle that is coming, so that if the driver loses control, you still have a way to escape. So again, over and above that, the Human Rights Commission has been calling over and again on the citizens of this country that they have to make some time to read Section 13 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone 1991. That section provides for duties of a citizen. And what we have seen, just as the police on their end have been really, really not up to task, the citizens themselves have really, really failed this nation. How? We have seen several times, particularly young people. The moment something happens, they take to arms. They start pelting stones. They will abuse. They will do all sorts of things. And this is condemnable. We have condemned people who take to arms because when you look at that section of the Constitution, paragraph J is so simple. It's clear. It tells you that every citizen has the obligation, has the responsibility to provide assistance to law enforcement officers to maintain law and order. It goes, it says so much about the responsibilities of citizens. It tells you that citizens have to be nationalistic and patriotic. So we have, as a nation, this is a national discourse. And that is why I encourage my brother to understand that this is an issue that we all should come together to discuss. For far too long, we have been hearing of, like you said, the president declared war against lawlessness. If there were no lawlessness, we wouldn't have actually declared that war. Right. So it's just like, by the way, just like corruption. Corruption will be in our midst for the longest time. But what's the distinction? It is the response. So for us as a commission, Human Rights Commission, it is the response. What is the response of the police, for example, when they find out that one or two of their officers have actually done something that is untoward? So the response comes in where you bring them, investigate them. When you find them wanting, you ensure that you set them aside and come to the public, announce to the public that these are what's in our midst. We have taken them away. So by that way, the citizens will actually have confidence. They will have confidence in the police. But you have seen the TRC report, for example. It tells you clearly that before the war, it was because people did not have confidence in, for example, the police, the judiciary. That was why people could take to arms whenever something happens, because they know if they go to the police or the judiciary, they will not have justice. We are not saying we are actually giving any excuse to any citizen that is not law-abiding. I have said in this program clearly that citizens also have failed this nation by not being disciplined, by not being law-abiding, by not being patriotic. And that is a constitutional call. That's all of us, no matter whether you are a minister, you are a president, you are a lawyer, you are a civil society activist, you are a doctor, you are the layman, the ordinary man, you have to ensure that we are law-abiding. We have to ensure that we are loyal to the country. Don't put political loyalty as above or against the loyalty of the state. That is what Section 13 tells you clearly. Let us be loyal to the state. Let us promote the unity of the country. Let us promote the progress of the country. By so doing, we'll be able. I mean, this is it's a lost generation for us. Unfortunately, it's a lost generation. But let us make room for our kids, our grandkids, to come and live in a country where they could actually seek their aspirations. They could be able to get what they want from the state. The state will be in place to actually protect them and ensure that the human rights of everybody is enjoyed, no matter your political orientation, your religious orientation, or your gender background. It doesn't matter. Rights are universal. They are invaluable. So it belongs to everybody. And the state, I keep calling on the state because the Constitution, Section 5, subsection 2, paragraph B, it's very clear. It is the responsibility of the state for the welfare and security of the people of this country. It lies on the state and primarily on the police in terms of security.
Okay.
So on the behalf of the Human Rights Commission, we are calling on citizens of this country. I mean, this is a country that we all have. This is a country that we can't go anywhere. For the longest time the war took, 11 years, for example, some of us were still here. We underwent all the problems, all the challenges, all the humiliations. We saw it in this country. And so we cannot continue to act in this way. Lawlessness is it's actually increasing. And the police are not helping. So on this hand, lawlessness is there. Young people take the law into their hands and come out and destroy government property, state property, sometimes even private interactions, private individuals. They just burn down houses. Look at this incident. This woman actually lost his house. The police officer who they say owns this house or this land, she has a house there.
Two of our houses.
Yes, 2 of our houses were burned down. Is that the way to go? Is that the way you actually vent out your anger? What have you done? Did you actually solve any problem? No, you did not. So lawlessness, we have as a people, we have to put down our feet to say lawlessness, enough is enough. Right. And that is why the Human Rights Commission is always calling on the people of this country to be law-abiding, to respect the police, to respect institutions. The Human Rights Commission is there. Always come to the commission. We can always investigate. We can always take your issue seriously.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Samuel, as you respond to those, there is also a message here I want you to respond to from Mystic Adwazaki saying, Samuel Wise Bangura, all the police personnel that have killed unarmed citizens are still in the Sierra police force. All the police management is doing is to transfer the defaulting officer from one region to the other.
That is not true. That is not true. And let me use the local balance. Me have done cool. And it's good that
yeah, it's done
cool. Cool. Yes. The Igbo name will make me at one.
You are beating the gun. That's the
go ahead.
You are beating the gun. Allow me. You are beating the gun. Any discussions of this nature are structural.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We come from ascending order.
Yeah. No.
Go ahead.
I want to say, of course, it has been a very fruitful discussion, and thank God I am the last individual that has to speak to this. The reality.
Go ahead.
For this program.
Go ahead.
For this program. I guess you've taken your bite.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, Victor.
Go ahead.
I'm telling you. Okay. The door of the Inspector General is open, and I really love and respect your views. Meet the Inspector General or the management of the Sierra Leone Police. We can have. Okay, fine. Very good. So we all want Sierra Leone to be peaceful, Sierra Leone to be a very fine place for everyone to live. And also the issue of citizens' trust, Marcella, it touches me. That one is very key, because if the people lack confidence from the police. Trust me, even when you are doing a legitimate policing, you will find it difficult. But if we win the confidence of the people to a very large extent, trust me, we'll enjoy doing policing. So the message I want to send is going to be divided into 3 angles of holds. One is for the general populace. As Commissioner said, let us all respect the law. It is very important. We all have our differences, but law, I believe, is the pivot around which a country will survive, continue, or stable. Without law, society crumbles. So our youth, make use of your youthful stage positively. Second phase is to the police. Of course, my boss, my bosses, they are all listening to this program, and all of us in that institution want to see fine policing, very decent policing strategy. And trust me, I will also appeal, you talk of the community policing strategy. We have a very fine one. And maybe where the problem is, you can come, we discuss it, Marcella, very frankly, then we see the way forward. The last one has to do with, Rashid talked of it, I don't want to say the hypocritical aspect of civil society. We have burning issues. Victor, you nailed it. The police, we have challenges. It is not about bashing, but when you look, trust me, Samuel, we have a very thorough legal luminaries. We have doctors, we have ballistic experts, forensic experts, prolific mass communicators, engineers, good accountants. But I like it. Our condition, that doesn't mean that's why we are behaving this way, but that's a very fine one, Victor. Thank you very much. So finally, our doors are open. Please come to police headquarters for frank discussion, and we're going to listen, and we're going to accept what is good for the society.
I have asked for one frank conversation. I'm still waiting for the feedback. Don't say it here. Okay. I called you. All right, thank you very much. And just quickly, somebody is sending me a message of what, issues around police reforms, again, not in Sierra Leone, but in the US. And this is what Chris from CNN is saying, that police reforms will never happen until white people's kids start getting killed. so it's not unique to Sierra Leone. Police want to think, all right, that should be a relief for you.
Yeah.
All right, many thanks to you, Marcella Samba. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. Rashid Dumbuya, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Victor Islandson, always a pleasure having you. Thank you very much. And of course, Samuel, thank you very much. It's a pleasure and will always be. And all right, that's all we have time for in tonight's program. Many thanks to my panelists and for their time, and many thanks to you, our lovely audience, for your time. A repeat of this program comes up on Thursday, as always, remember. And thank you for staying with us and participating in the conversation. Unfortunately, we were unable to accommodate calls, but we went through some of your messages. Until next time, continue to make AYV your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced news. And I've been your presenter, Samuel Wise Bangura, and the show has been AYV on Sunday. Take care of yourself, and up next is our AYV Primetime News.
Yes, subscribe. You always dey watch we program them, but you not subscribe yet to the channel. All waiting you get for do, press this red subscribe button, and then you come over here and press this bell. To the bell option, press this one with all. And done. And no get for cost you anything. When you do this, na sign for show say you dey support we for make we do more. Thank you for we do help we for share this program. Yeah, God bless you.